Hello, my name is David Prosser. Welcome to our weekly webcast. Our topic this week is a play called Bartholomew Fair, which is by Ben Jonson, who was a contemporary of Shakespeare's. This play is going to be on at the Tom Patterson Theatre. The people I have with me, who are going to be talking about this in just a moment, are our General Director, Antoni Cimolino, who is also directing the play. Hello. First time in a while, right, that you've been directing?
Not since Coriolanus.
Yeah. And we also are lucky to have with us Tom McCamus, who's playing one of the characters in the play, Justice Overdo, right, of whom more in a moment. And we will also have, if we're lucky, some extra special mystery guests who will join us a little later on. First, we are going to show you something we recorded earlier from the prop shop. And it was you, Antoni, I think, went and took a look at how they're building these mystery guests.
Yes, that's right. We don't want to give away the mystery guests.
No. Right. All right. So let us go to the mystery guests on tape. Let's roll that tape and then we'll be right back.
Okay, still in prop shop, but now we're here looking at the production of Bartholomew Fair that Carolyn Smith, the designer for Bartholomew Fair, is designing. So hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm directing Bart Fair. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the work that Angela's doing here in terms of creating dolls, which are sold at the fair, and also a puppet, because there's a great puppet show at the end of the fair. You really must come see this show. Okay, so Carolyn, tell us about we've set it in its period.
We've set it in
1614.
Vaguely. We're taking a little liberty.
Yeah, going a couple of years here or there on either side, but basically, 1614. Yeah. So tell us about, how do you find dolls from 1614? How do you find puppets from 1614?
Well, it's a little hard. You have to do a lot of research, and there's very few left. So there is one image from a doll from that time, and a lot of them were made out of lead then, which we didn't want to do.
Right.
So these are based on something that vaguely that we found is close to the period and is much like one that I've seen from the period. And they were made out of wood.
Oh, great.
And jointed. And Angela has had the pleasure of making them. And she's jointed them all so that they will actually move.
Yeah, this is amazing, Angela. Like, I couldn't believe, when I first came in and saw this, I thought, because I thought you'd give me a doll, you'd give me a stick doll. But this is brilliant. Where did you learn to do this?
A week ago.
Well,
you'd given me a drawing,
yeah.
so I just patterned it out myself.
So Carolyn, you found that, and Angela, you looked at that and you figured, okay, this is how we make the knees. And that would have been something around the time. Or early,
right.
yeah.
Well, maybe a little later, but close.
Right.
So I cut it up into parts, and then had my legs and arms and made each piece separately. So I cut it out on our bandsaw and then sanded everything with our stationary sander to get all the curves and shapes, and then
I see.
wired it together. So there's little holes through each and the wire so that she can flop around and dangle the doll so she can still move her arms.
So you needed a pattern, basically, like you would use for costume.
Well, somewhat. I just blew this drawing up and then cut out what I needed just to give me an idea of size and scale.
Right.
And then you just had to wing it, really.
Yeah, that's
Start
amazing.
putting it together.
But now you have to actually get a dress on the doll.
Yes, and we're basing the dresses on costumes that are worn in the show. And at this point, they're prostitutes, so we're basing the dolls on prostitute costumes.
The prostitutes are in the play.
The prostitutes are in the play, but the dolls' costumes are now being based on what they're going to wear in the play as prostitutes. And the description in the play is that they're green dresses with red petticoats. So that's where we're starting.
And this is your costume sketch
Yes.
for Delal Badr, who's playing Mistress Overdo, and it puts on this prostitute's outfit from the period. And you can see the red petticoats there, and you can see the nice green outfit. And you're right, it looks like, and this is because people attack the dolls as being a sign of licentiousness.
That's correct.
And then we also have some puppets.
Puppets, which we're hoping to use these, paint them a little differently, because these are actually Punch and Judy, and Punch and Judy didn't come into existence until a little later.
I see.
But they're actually also going to probably look like the actors in the sketches and be based on them.
So now you also are doing what's called soft props there as well, in the sense that you're having to sew. You have an admirable sense of its initiative. You just jump in and you do it.
Yep.
Did you learn to sew anywhere?
No. I'm patterning out everything as I go, just from looking at the drawing. So I've made my own little patterns, and I learned things from other people in the shop, and just trial and error. And I even gave them little bum rolls so that their skirts pop out, just like you would.
Right.
Wardrobe, because we could here in props we don't always sew things. We sometimes glue it or
Right.
tie it together because we don't have to have it come on and off. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to playing with those dolls.
Good.
Thanks, Angela. Thank you, Carolyn.
No problem.
Okay, and we're back, and I have with me, as promised, a mystery guest. She is now going to conduct the rest of this interview while I drink this bottle of water. Or perhaps not. Anyway, this is one of the more wooden performers in Bartholomew Fair.
Not really.
Before we get into this more seriously or less seriously, let me remind you that we want you at home to send in questions right now in real time, which Antoni and Tom McCamus, who are on my left-hand side here, are going to answer. So this is your opportunity to pose questions directly, have them answered. First of all, we'll get to these guys in a moment. That's the way to do it. What is Bartholomew Fair, Antoni? What is this play about?
Well, Bartholomew Fair was actually a fair that took place. It started around 1150,
Yeah.
and it was started by one of the king's jesters, and the intention was to raise money for Bartholomew Hospital.
Right.
Because it would have been pronounced Bartlemy instead of Bartholomew, so it would be Bartlemy Fair. And then over the years, it grew and grew and grew in Smithfield. It would be a place of commerce. You could buy and sell stuff. You could, go and eat all sorts of horrific kind of, the version, cotton candy of 400 years ago and bad hot dogs. And it got more and more kind of, licentious. And then eventually the Victorians in 1852, 1853 decided enough of that. And it stopped.
Licentious, eh? So this is a play about the low life of London, right?
Well,
what happens
partially.
Exactly here?
Well, it's like his version of Midsummer Night's Dream. They go into, instead of a forest, they go into a fair.
Right.
And they are a group of Puritans who
Right.
aren't at home in a fair.
Right.
A group of aristocrats.
Right.
And so these different groups, different classes, go into the fair and meet the carnies, meet the entertainers, meet the pickpockets, the people who shortchange you. And what happens is that they are like a kaleidoscope. These very colorful characters get regrouped and regrouped and regrouped in all sorts of different combinations, and they get stripped away of their pretenses.
Okay.
So by the end of it, different characters like Justice Overdo learn something, change by the end. And
Okay, so tell me about Justice Overdo. Like, who is this that you're playing, Tom?
His name is Justice Adam Overdo, and he's a justice of the peace. What he does is he comes in at the beginning of Act 2 and he's in disguise. Okay. And what he's decided to do is go to the fair because everybody knows who he is, and everybody's afraid of him because he passes judgment on all these criminals. So he decides to go to the fair disguised as somebody else to see the enormities, he calls them, which are the criminals, the criminal acts, and he sees them firsthand, and he notes them all down, so that when he actually passes judgment on them, he really knows what he's talking about. So he's doing it for because he wants to be a better justice of the peace. So, and he's a pretty kind of pompous serious guy. This is him, actually. This is what he looks like at the beginning, and then he takes this off and he goes into a disguise, and nobody recognizes